You remember the feeling, don't you? The feeling that you're being watched, that if you make the slightest movement, you're dead. Everybody had that fear as a child. You wake up in the night, can't get back to sleep, shuffling back and forth from one uncomfortable position to the next, hoping to find a way to sudden slumber. You give up. There's no way you're going back to sleep anytime soon, so you simply turn to your side and stare out the window. The road, the lights, the trees, all seem so strange under the cover of night. You try to keep your mind quiet of any distractions, remembering that you still need to sleep. And that's when the feeling hits you. The feeling swarms over you like an ice-cold blanket that has just been spread across your back. You remember that it is night, and that night is when fear likes to hunt. You feel almost as if you are being watched from behind you. You can't see it, but its eyes are trained on you. You want to move, but you can't. If you do, something bad, no, something horribly wrong is going to happen to you. The only thing you can do is remain quiet and still, and then it won't notice you. As you lie on your bed, frozen in fear, you begin to think about your bed sheets. If only you could quickly grab your bed sheets and throw them over yourself to hide your body from whatever evil monstrosity stands behind you. It could be done. Perhaps, if you're fast and precise, you could succeed. You decide to think no longer. You flip up and grab your bed sheets with both hands. Without looking around the room, you swipe back down, covering yourself with a thick blanket. Safety. It is then that your mind comes back to you, and you remind yourself that there is nothing there. Darkness clouds the mind and causes it to hallucinate, with the only limitations being your imagination. You slowly poke your head out of the sheets and scan your eyes around the room. Nothing. You place your head back on the pillow and slowly drift off to sleep. This is every child's fear, and parents always tell their children to go back to sleep, and that it is good for them to work through their fears. They are wrong, because what they don't know is that when the children hide under their bed sheets, the real fear is not what is standing over them, but what is staring at them from under the covers.
It calls itself the onyx, the black, the darkness. It is an ominous and otherworldly thing, slowly and painfully driving me to my grave since I was a child. I can remember our first encounter with clarity. The bulb in my nightlight had burnt out, and Daddy and Mommy were already in bed. No one was left to protect me. The creature walks hand in hand with the darkness of night, undetected, unexpected, yet perpetually feared. You see, this entity preys viciously on the weak of mind, the innocent, the unknowing. It is undetectable in the first moments of its arrival. No warning is given, no chance to prepare. It is simply there with you, whether you want it to be or not. It's followed me for years now. The 20th anniversary of when it first showed itself to me is approaching, and it knows I am near the point of surrender. The Onyx has mastered the art of enforcing psychological exhaustion upon its victims. Things go quite smoothly through it when it has known you since your childhood, as it has me. Most people would recognize it upon seeing it. It has no real shape or mass. It's just that dim, wispy cloud of hellish darkness crawling up your bedroom wall and looming in silent weight of your surrender to weariness from the day. I am very much aware of the fact that it watches me, invisible during the day, blatantly surrounding in the night. The moment light is extinguished with the simple flick of a switch, it exists, dominant and evil. The Onyx has been gracious enough to inform me that tonight will be my final encounter with it. Not that it's going anywhere. Only me. I have no say in the matter, no control. I am under its merciless command. I am given no choice but to accept my fate and my final task, to lie in agonizing wait of the final visit of the Onyx. I'm starting to shiver. Oh God, I can already feel it. The sensation of several weights laid across my body is abrupt and powerful, pressing me into the mattress. I can't move. My muscles have stiffened to stone. I dare only to move my eyes, and I watch as the Onyx slithers under my closed door and into the room. It watches me from the foot of my bed. I am helpless, ensnared vulnerably with its insidious contemplation. It makes its way to the side of the bed, then arches its grotesque form over me, slithering what feels like a skeletal hand over my body. It towers over me, and its darkness overtakes me in its entirety one last time. Its delicate mantle of blackness glides across my face. I'm reminded briefly of a gothic and tattered bride's veil. The Onyx hovers to the darkest corner of the room, taking its usual route up the wall and onto the ceiling above my bed. It stares triumphantly down on me, and stays that way for some time, seeming to relish the moment. Finally, it begins its descent. I close my eyes. Several sharp objects, almost like claws, dig into the sides of my face, leaving behind what I'm sure are angry, bleeding gashes. I can't help it. I scream. The skeletal hands are closing over my skull. Then, suddenly, what feels like a third hand, decked with needle-like fingers, forces itself down my throat. I gag and shriek hoarsely as the spindly fingers dig through my insides, burning and tearing with every careless movement. Distinctively, I feel the hand move with purpose as it closes over my panicking heart. It has me. The fingers tighten. My vision turns black. A strangled cry beyond my own recognition escapes my obstructed throat. The claws gripping my head begin to tighten as well. Pressure builds inside my brain as the skull begins to crack. I experience every little split, every microscopic break. Warm liquids trickle down the sides of my face, into my eyes, into my open mouth. my body is made of agony. And then there is nothing. They find me like that a few days later, eyes glazed and mad with anguish, skull in shards with unknown fluids leaking out, blood seeping from the ragged lips and gathering in a large pool on my bruised, unmoving chest. Mysterious, ink-black handprints stain my skin in various places. My heart, they discover, is oddly missing. Gone. Nowhere to be found. What could have done this? The officers and investigators ask one another. The remnants of my eyes roll around rapidly in their sockets, looking frantically in all directions. It's right in front of you, I tell them. But their ears are deaf to my warnings. Their eyes are blind to the things of this netherworld of darkness and ceaseless torment. I watch the creature follow them out as they leave the gruesome scene of my demise. The creature. My second shadow. My lifelong stalker. My executioner. The onyx. It's all around you. It will never leave you. Take my word. Take the word of its claimed victim. You will see it. Just wait until dark.
A couple years back, my friend Alex and I became extremely curious about the paranormal. I, of course, was a skeptic, so we would often try and find abandoned locations throughout New Jersey to debunk things. Most places felt extremely normal in the day, but once it got dark, they did feel eerie. I knew it was mainly in my head, so I didn't really classify these locations as paranormal. Some notable locations I've been to were 1754 House, Ithrin Asylum, an empty walls mansion. These were locations we heard of and went to visit the locations. There was one in particular location named Essex Mountain Sanatorium. This is where Alex and I had the strangest experience in our lives. But first, let's start from the beginning. It was 10:30 in the morning, eating breakfast with my dad. My phone vibrates in my pocket. As I scooped down the last of my Lucky Charms, Alex called me on the phone about an abandoned insane asylum near where we live. I was extremely excited. I told him we should go there on Saturday and stay until 2:30 a.m. there. He agreed. My dad glances up and looks me straight in the eye with a creepy smile. So, Duper Bop, you planning doing anything different this time so you can actually see some ghosts? He chuckles. No, do you have any ideas that could help us? I replied back. Well, there's this little game my drinking buddies used to do when we were camping. He replies with a wolfish grin on his face. He explains to me a sort of psychological experiment he used to do when he was younger. My dad only referred to it as the game. The instructions to play were simple. 1. You must play the game between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 2. You must be alone during this, and you must have no one watching you, or else you won't feel the loneliness factor. And 3. You must go to an area with very little sound and no windows. It must be pitch black with no lights. The last thing he told me is that you have to have all the doors around you completely open, and they too must have no lights, sounds, or windows. Sit in the middle of the room looking at the door that is open, or both, if there are 2 doors. I told him I would try this when I get there. He nods and looks back at his paper. Fast forward to Saturday, and Alex out in my front yard. He was wearing a red polo and black shorts. He sort of looks like the Asian version of Tom Cruise, but a little bit shorter. Anyways, he picks me up, and about 2 to 4 hours in, we arrive at the Essex Mountain Sanatorium. We arrived at night, so the place really did look creepy. We bolted the front entrance and tried to open the front door. It was locked. We found a small window we could fit in, and we immediately crawled through it. Pitch black, we couldn't see anything. Alex brought out his flashlight so we could see better. The area we ended up in wasn't so bad. It was the sleeping area for patients, I think. So we didn't really freak out that much. Then I remembered about the game my dad told me. I opened the door to the hallway and searched for rooms in which I could find the perfect room for the game. I found a medical area room, so I went in to check it out. I told Alex behind me to go back into the bedroom area and stay there. He was confused, so I explained to him about my game. He reluctantly agreed. I set everything up and made sure no lights were there. I opened the doors and sat in the middle of the room staring at the two doors. I waited. I suddenly started seeing things after 20 minutes of starting the game. I saw shadows and heard whispers, which I realized were my own. I glanced at the dark door to the left and saw a shadow outlined near the door. My brain started giving into the fear and everything started getting worse. I started seeing my worst nightmares forming in the darkness. The Grudge Girl in particular took over most of my fears. In the corner of my eye, I saw someone's face. I knew I wasn't hallucinating. I stood up and ran like hell. I went back to the bedroom area and I saw Alex also frightened. We both pretty much jumped out of the small window opening. We went back in the car and started driving. We were silent for nearly 2 hours. I had the guts to finally speak. I asked Alex why he was frightened. He told me during the whole time I was in the room alone, he heard a woman screaming, coming from the room I sat in. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below. All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or have any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.